What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And here today, there was an agreement for a 90-day cease on the tariffs between China and the United States of America. Now, I made a video about 3 weeks ago where I was covering the Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony situation, but I also dove into Donald Trump and the tariffs. And in that video, I said the Chinese are being very stubborn. As much as it was hurting the United States, it was killing China. And today they were able to reach a tentative agreement. Now, do I think they will be able to work out a deal? Yes. Nothing's guaranteed in this world, but I do feel like they'll be able to iron out some kind of a deal long term based on the simple fact that it's best for both countries. America's #1 consumer and China is the #1 producer of products. For China, you just can't have a bunch of products and goods just sitting up. Money is more valuable than products. If you compare it to drugs, I don't care how much cocaine you got. If you can't move it, it doesn't mean nothing. Money can buy everything. You can't go into the store and use cocaine to buy anything. You can't take those products and start, using that to buy other things. No, the product is only as valuable as the people that's buying it. So the Chinese had to come to some type of agreement, and I'm not surprised. Let's take a small glimpse at the video I made 2 weeks ago. Let's take a look at this little small clip. 1 second. Until the video, like I said, until the video comes out, we shall see. But let's take a look at this. China threat could escalate Trump trade war. Now, I talked about Trump coming in office this time. And like I said before, like if you ain't never watched my videos, you don't know I'm apolitical. That means I don't support either side. I only support what I think can help me. Like I'm not into the red or the blue, the donkey or the elephant. I don't care. I can care less about that shit as a black man. I felt like, and let me say this for all Negroes, because most of these videos I make is geared towards the so-called Negro, like Chronicles of Judah used to say. Look, even if you're not a Negro, you can get some out of it. Cool, but especially for Negroes, most Negroes are not politically savvy, and that's not a bad thing. That's something that Negroes are getting better at. I think over the last 10 years, Negroes have gotten far better at evaluating. Only problem I have with Negroes is the pendulum tends to swing from one side to the other, and they don't have a lot of balance and, being able to judge things and using discernment. It's always like, I'm all the way in, I'm all the way out. I'm all the way over here, I'm all the way over there. No, you got to be able to see both sides, listen to both sides, use discernment, take the meat off the bone, and move and push forward. Going into this election, going into this presidency, will be a revenge tour. And so far, it has been. Now, the tariffs, I do understand why they will fight the tariffs tooth and nail, why Donald Trump won't do that, because a lot of the trades that we have set up with other countries is very, very beneficial for them, but it hurts us. They're able to send their shit tax-free, and we're being taxed to the umpteenth degree. So I'm not really mad at it. You just hope that they can get a deal done sooner rather than later. China, listen to me, if we're sick and hurting, then China will damn near be on their deathbed because their country is not set up like this country. As bad as these trade wars are, as bad as the tariffs have been financially on us, it's 5 times worse on China. There's no doubt about that. Because a lot of this shit is built on lies, deception, false numbers. And anytime you build your shit on a deck of cards or a house of cards, it's easy for the mission to tumble. That's why China's making all these type of threats now, because they are suffering tremendously, because they're able to send shit over from Shein, Temu. They make all the luxury bags. They make all this shit, but now they're suffering. All that shit is just sitting up, collecting dust now, and they're not making any money. So let's take a look at this clip.
I'm not trying to start in Washington, where the Trump administration's plans to strike deals with trading partners may have just gotten more complicated. China now warning it will retaliate against countries making trade agreements with the United States that hurt Chinese interests.
That's a weak move by China. It lets you know how hurt the Chinese really are. The Chinese, what the Chinese are doing right now is being extremely stubborn. In all honesty, the Chinese need to be coming to the table at all costs, trying to make this thing work, trying to get an agreement, and trying to make it where they can continue making money. Because the United States, as much as we hurting, everybody, most people, they ain't hungry. Shit is high, but you ain't starving. Shit is high, but you still got a job. Shit is high, but you're still buying gas. You're still doing this. You're still going out in the town. You're still doing mostly all the stuff you're doing normally. They're saying they're threatening other countries. I would imagine with cyber war. But I just want to give you a small clip. Obviously, that's a whole full clip. I don't want to go through the whole clip, but in the clip, I'm telling you that China has no choice but to come to the table. Like they were in a tough position, and a lot of people saying the tariffs are bad. And I even heard today that people were saying that Trump folded. No, this is all part of negotiation. You pull everything off the table and say, "Hey, let's renegotiate." They say, "Hey, China, like we hurting." He's like, "Yeah, we hurting too, but we're not going to give you this deal that you've been having all this time. Some stuff got to change." So I can understand why the United States and Donald Trump and his administration will want to do that. That's a positive. Like I said, everything Trump does is not a positive. I don't agree with everything no one man does except Jesus. He ain't here no more, but he still left a roadmap to how to live your life. But outside of that, following behind a man and believing and taking everything he say word for word is ridiculous. But what Trump is doing is a good thing with the tariffs. A lot of the deals were not good. And like I said, even in that video, I finished off by saying, hey, man, just because he put your tariffs at 35, that don't mean they can't be negotiated. They won't take 28. You just put it at 35, and in a negotiation, you take 28 or 30. If he put you at 25, that means we'll take 20 or 18. But we're going to start high, but we're going to find somewhere in the medium where we probably want it to be the whole time. But let's take a look at this. This is the news clip from the tariffs, the tentative 90-day agreement.
Going overseas today. Fox News learned overnight the Trump administration securing another win, announcing a major tariff deal with China. Trade will be one of the major issues on the agenda. When the president makes his high-stakes trip, and the first one to the Middle East, he's going overseas today. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt joins us now. Caroline, we just mentioned there's probably 7 major stories. I know I'm going to disappoint somebody by not bringing it up. First off, your reaction, and what could you tell us about the China deal that has tariffs dropping from 145, 125 respectively to 30 and 10?
This is an extraordinary first step in the right direction. And thanks to the strength of President Trump, Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer were able to cut this initial deal with China. China agreed to reduce their tariffs on the United States by 115%. They also agreed to continue having discussions about opening Chinese markets to American-made products and goods. And they also agreed to continue seriously discussing the grave impact that Chinese-produced fentanyl is having right here in the United States and our people. So this is a great first step for the American public, and Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, and of course President Trump will continue negotiations with China so we can hopefully inevitably get to a fair and comprehensive big trade deal.
And you heard she snuck in fentanyl, which China is the biggest producers of fentanyl. Fentanyl is hurting white people tremendously. See, that's the thing. Sometimes the news, they'll give you what's going on, but you have to be able to read in between the lines. You have to be able to see the unseen. You know what I mean? You got to be able to see in the dark a little bit, because we know, as far as white people go, that's one thing that's hurting them, and that's drug abuse, fentanyl, methamphetamines. There's a lot of things that's going on, low birth rates within their race that they're trying to deal with and cope with. That's why it's so important for them to get out all of these illegal immigrants. That's why it's so important for them to fight China on this fentanyl, because these things are hurting white people. Not only that, they also have a problem within their group, which is child molestation and abuse, domestic abuse, child abuse. There's a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying all white people. But I'm saying these are huge problems. Just like black people have problems within our racing groups that we have to fix, they have problems within their racing group that they are working on and consistently have to fix. Are currently are trying to fix for sure. But I don't know how you turn around on birth rates. But you can cut down on the fentanyl because China know what they're doing, the United States know what they're doing. But at this point, it's gotten out of control across the country. I stay right here in Vegas, and the amount of dope fiends, white drug addicts in Las Vegas is astronomical. I stayed in Portland, Oregon. The amount of white dope fiends astronomical. California, I stayed there, astronomical. Washington, the state of Washington, with Seattle, and I astronomical amount of white drug addicts is through the roof. That means they're committing crime, but they're not being prosecuted for the crime. So which leads to even more crime amongst the group. So they have some fixing to do, some shit they need to work on too.
Do you know yet, Caroline, if they're going to unfreeze their rare earth and the magnets that we use for our technical equipment as well as our military equipment?
I do understand that was part of the discussion, but I also know that the administration is working overtime 24/7 with a dedicated team to onshore that very critical supply chain here at home. We need to be producing those magnets, those rare earth minerals, and also look at pharmaceuticals, look at semiconductors. There are critical supply chains that we have been dependent on other countries for far too long. So while we continue to negotiate these good and fair trade deals, we will also continue to boost our domestic manufacturing here at home to strengthen our national security.
All right, so we got the UK deal, the framework for a China deal. Is there another deal queued up, ready to go today before you leave?
Well, look, we told you the next 100 days would consist of peace deals and trade deals, and that's exactly what we have seen. The president announced last week the big trade deal with the UK, as you mentioned. Now we have a first deal with China. Just yesterday, the president announced the release of the last remaining American hostage in Gaza, Eden Alexander, who will soon be united with his loving family. God bless him. That's thanks to President Trump. We also negotiated a ceasefire with the Houthis, and President Trump was instrumental in negotiating a ceasefire with India and Pakistan. This is all in the last week. President Trump and his team are working incredibly hard on behalf of the country.
Anytime you can get ceasefire and wars is always a good thing. India and Pakistan have been in basically a Cold War for the last at least 30, 40 years. They're fighting over a piece of land. What's his name of that? God damn it, it skips my mind. I'm sorry, you guys. But it's a little piece of land next to India and Pakistan. But they've been fighting over that for so long. I remember them fighting over that in the 90s, trading little small battles here and there over time. But we can see it start to escalate a little bit over the weekend where it could have easily spilled into full-fledged warfare. So if he got that done and was able to get a peace treaty, that's a good thing. That's always a positive, especially for people like myself and some of my friends that I know who are in the stock market. War is always a bad thing unless it's a war that they're behind. Then it doesn't really hurt the stock market as much because that means they're in complete control. But you don't want no wars that's out of control, that's out of your hands, that you don't have a lot of say in.
And the world to secure peace deals and trade deals. And don't forget, we have a tax deal coming too. The administration is working with Capitol Hill to sign the largest tax cuts in American history right now.
So this pharmaceutical deal, I'm just going off the Truth Social post. It says, it's a long one, but he says, I'm pleased to announce that today, the White House at 9 o'clock will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders ever. They'll be reducing pharmaceuticals by about 80%. Essentially, we are going to pay less than the country that's paying the least for pharmaceuticals from here on in. How does that work?
First of all, it cannot be overstated how big of a deal this executive order that President Trump will be signing in a couple of hours is for American families, and especially our seniors who have been ripped off by very large and rich pharmaceutical companies. The United States of America is less than 5% of the world's population, yet we purchase 75% of Big Pharma's profits. We pay an astronomical amount in comparison to other countries around the world. So the president is signing an executive order today that is going to implement most favored nations drug pricing. It is going to reduce the cost of drugs in this country by more than half at least. America is going to pay a better rate and a fairer rate to the rest of the world. That's what the American people deserve. This is huge news. And also, I will add, we know that healthcare costs and drug prices were the #1 driver of Biden inflation. So not only are we bringing those down, but we are ending Biden inflation once and for all.
Even if you don't like Trump, you must admit that's something that's been needed for a very long time. Obviously, some of these pharmaceutical companies are making money hand over fist. Now, if you're in the marketing, you like to invest in pharmaceutical companies like I do myself, 50-50. But I had to admit, charging old people these astronomical prices for pills that they need for their own health is ridiculous, especially if it's like insulin, heart medicine, cancer medicine, all these different things that people need. We're not saying it's supposed to be dirt cheap, but damn it, you can't be charging something that costs you 50 cents to make. You can't be charging $300-$400, $250, $100, $90 for shit. It only costs you 13 cents to make the pill. Man, hell no. Nah. That's ridiculous. You got to get those prices down. Instead of 90, we need that down to about 40. Instead of some shit that's $500-$600, come on, man, get that down to $150, $200. Just, make it fair, make it reasonable for people to actually get the drugs that they need. Because believe me, I understand we are the most unhealthy country in the world. And a lot of these drugs, man, we don't even need. There's actual real, what you would call natural remedies for some of these things. But, obviously there are also drugs that people actually need to survive and live. But it's a good thing.
Can you clarify that Qatar is giving us a new Air Force One as a personal gift to President Trump? Are they gifting it to the country? What could you tell us about this luxury liner that looks like a hotel in the air?
Well, the Qatari government has graciously offered to donate a plane to the Department of Defense. The legal details of that are still being worked out, but of course, any donation to this government is always done in full compliance with the law, and we commit ourselves to the utmost transparency, and we will continue to do that.
Do you worry that if they give us something like this, they want something in return?
Absolutely not, because they know President Trump, and they know he only works with the interests of the American public in mind.
So, Caroline, it was a great Mother's Day, I imagine, for yourself, even though you have like 8 major.
That jet, they're gonna have to gut that. Yeah, like you have to search that 100 times. All right. Do I think they would trade that out for the Air Force One? Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't know. It's too many like security risk, but it's a great gesture, I guess, from Qatar towards the Trump administration. I'm pretty sure they take that as as a gift and something where they can try to work together long-term deals and solutions with Qatar. But I don't think the United States in general, Republican or Democrat, had a bad relationship with Qatar. So, and that's Qatar, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, none of that. They have always had a pretty good deal because we buy a lot of oil from them. So I think that was just a gesture, a good faith gesture. But, like I said, y'all, the tariffs, I understand. You're trying to get better deals. They threw in the fentanyl. I understand. China is producing a lot of fentanyl. China got a lot of shit going on. But China had to come to the table, man. You can't let your products sit and collect dust. People was out of work in China. They was laying off people left and right. Things were hurting. We were hurting and they were hurting. So it is what it is, you guys. Let's take a look at this next clip, you guys. This is the NBA draft lottery. One of the most rigged systems in America. But I'm not mad that it's rigged. As I get older, I understand that sports is for entertainment purposes only. Ain't nothing guaranteed. If they have to fix something for a particular reason to go a certain way to keep the money flowing, to keep people entertained, they are going to do it every time. Because today, the Dallas Mavericks received the first overall pick in the NBA draft. Why is that significant? Because the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic. Now, I covered these clips about Dallas receivers, and I said the reason why NBA traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers was for NBA TV ratings because the game is so bad. Too many 3-pointers being shot, too much load management, too many players not playing hard on the defensive end. It's a mess. And it's very difficult to watch. Very difficult to watch. But I made this video 3 months ago, you guys. I made this video 3 months ago, February 4th. I made this video. But take a listen to what I said February 4th. I knew that the Dallas Mavericks was old because Dallas made a trade where they only got Anthony Davis, one more player and a first-round pick for a first team All Pro, that is a terrible trade because Anthony Davis is 32 and often injured. You can't make that trade. It made no sense. So I knew then, off the bat, that something wasn't right. Something was rotten in Denmark, and that the NBA orchestrated this trade. Take a listen. But when you read that, take a listen. So that lets you know Adam Silver asked, hey man, we got a trade, we need you to do us a favor. What's that? I need you to throw some picks and add this, such and such, a few picks, and we're gonna give you this, and it'll be cool for you two. And down the line, we see you guys on the worst team, we'll guarantee you a top 3 in the NBA draft lottery. Hey, I'm so ahead of the curve. Top 3 in the NBA draft lottery. They got a top 3 pick. They actually got the number 1 overall pick. We're going to give you that. Now, what you do with us, you didn't work with us. Now we're going to work with you. They had to do something because the NBA is suffering from a ratings problem. This whole video, I went through all the statistics of the draft, of the ratings. It's bad. That's a fact. That's not me. Even though this is that's my opinion on something. To me, that's fashion. We know that the draft lottery is controlled. It's, certain teams for certain reasons at certain times. There's no doubt about that. But when you read that about the viewership being there across the board, and it's not just one reason, it's a bunch of reasons, but the reasons are very fixable. But like I said, don't be surprised this summer that if they don't actually start to change a rule here or there. It's not going to be all at once, but $76 billion in TV contracts between Disney, ABC, now next year they said Amazon Prime. I think it was another channel. I forget the other channel. But all these different people involved with Nike. And let me say this, Nike sales are down. Nike sales are down. Why? Because the NBA sales are down. Who sells more shoes for Nike than the NBA? And I'm simply the best. Better than all the rest. And like I said, I made that video 3 months ago. And I knew, and I just told you in that video, hey man, this shit is rigged. They knew this shit was rigged. I'm not saying it like I'm just way ahead of. I mean, people were saying that in the 80s when Patrick Ewing was drafted to the Knicks. Goddamn, this shit is rigged as hell. That's why they don't show you the draft lottery on TV. They don't show you the balls and pop and how they get in the picks. And Dallas had a 1% chance of getting the number overall pick, and they got it. And they traded a generational talent to the Los Angeles Lakers for very little in compensation. So they got the first overall pick. So does the trade even itself out? Absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to end up with Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall draft pick. He has potential to have a generational talent, but you got to get in the NBA and do it and show it. Ain't nothing guaranteed, but he does look good. He was a National College Player of the Year. He took his team to the Final Four as an 18-year-old freshman. That takes talent. That takes skills. That takes guts and moxie. That takes all. You got to have all that shit because them seniors and juniors and shit, there's some tough games. Real tough games. Let's take a look at the Dallas Mavericks and how they reacted with they fake reaction as if they didn't know they was getting the first overall pick. Let's look at this. Take a look at this. Hold on. Take a look at this.
To win the number 1 pick, and here's the Mavs front office, including Nico Harrison's live reaction to getting that number 1 pick.
Second pick.
Give me a break. Are you fucking kidding me? The Dallas Mavericks knew damn well what was going on. Nico Harris has been getting crushed. He's a GM for the Dallas Mavericks. He's been getting crushed over the past 3-4 months. This is something to get him back into good graces with the fans. On paper, if Dallas Mavericks can get Kyrie Irving back and healthy, they have a fantastic team on paper. But Kyrie Irving has to get back and be healthy. Anthony Davis has to stay on the floor. All this stuff is still tentative on health, but to get the number 1 overall draft pick and have a legit talented player, college player of the year, only 18, led his team to the Final Four. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, you need that for sure. But as you can see, I just want to go over this right quick. NBA draft lottery. I want you to look at this. What people are saying on this rigged. No way. People just rigged. Rigged. People. There's a lot of people saying that this is rigged. Short. Look, Dallas. The Dallas and the NBA actually rigged. The NBA rigged the draft lottery. Really? How's that a surprise? Why wouldn't they? I told you in that video I made 3 months ago. They signed $76 billion worth of TV contracts last summer. And that ratings were down lower than they've ever been since the early 80s. You have to do rigged. You have to do something. You can't stand by idly. It's a business first. It is a business first, you guys. You have to do something. You can't just stand by and watch it continuously go the wrong way. And that's why I said 3 months ago, eventually what you're going to get with this is you're going to get some rule changes. What rule changes? I don't know, but you got to get where players aren't doing as much load management. And also you have to get to where players aren't where players are actually playing defense. You have to get back to rivalries. All of this shit where we buddy and love each other, the shit the LeBron era, you have to bring this shit to an end. LeBron James carried the NBA over the past 20 years. You did a great job. But over the past 10 years, it has been going the wrong directions, ratings wise. All of the flopping, falling, 3-point shooting, no defense, players making damn near $500 million. I mean, players are making $300 million, $360 million contracts. That's cool, long as you're giving me the effort and the energy on the court. Only thing that's still legit is hockey and baseball. All the rest of this shit the shit that we grew up in love, which is basketball, and football, is going up in smoke. Too many rule changes. They softening the game to where you don't even want to watch it. It's hard for me to watch the NBA now. But the Dallas Mavericks received the number one overall draft pick. Unbelievable, y'all. Unbelievable. But listen to me. Look, it say the Mavericks had a 1.8% chance. And I told my cousin when he called me, I said, no, they didn't. They had a 100% chance they was getting the number one overall pick. 100% to the people who ain't got no common sense. But anybody with any common sense and knows how this work, how the league works, and how business works, Dallas was going to get a top. I said top 3. But it turned out to be the number one overall draft pick. Me and my partner was talking this morning, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavericks didn't get the number one overall pick. And we was talking to him. He said, I wouldn't be surprised either. We was going back and forth. He called me later on in the evening and said, man, this shit's so rigged. I said, yeah, of course it is. He said, we called it though. Yeah, for sure. We most definitely knew that.
In the NBA lottery. Last year, we saw the Hawks at 3%. Now you see the Mavericks cracking the top 5 at 1.8%. And they are on the clock, and Sham Charania has much more with the winners.
Orlando, this is unbelievable. What does this mean for the Dallas Mavericks? This incredible honor.
Well, for us, it's been a rough year, as you all know. But the important part of the whole thing is that we'll get a chance to move our franchise forward. We have a tremendous staff and management, and the important factor for us is to be able to continue in that tradition and to be able to move forward. It's really a great honor. It's an important piece of the puzzle because we want to hoop down in Dallas. What is it?
Well, and it is what it is. I always tell people, don't let sports get you too up or too down, y'all. It's for entertainment purposes only. That's always in the fine print with football, basketball, baseball, hockey, all of them. At least those hockey and baseball, they still kept the essence of the sport. But rivalries, it seems like across sports. I know I can talk for, I don't know about baseball and hockey, but I know at least in basketball and football, the rivalry shit is dead. Like you don't feel those same rivalries like you used to, especially in basketball. That's dead as a doorknob. But, I just wanted to go over those couple of clips, you guys. I do have another video coming over, a few other things, news clips that I want to go over, but This has been Sports Life and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. I'm here for the news. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on the NBA draft lottery. Mavericks was guaranteed #1 pick ride. Peace.